This is Paul Storty. I'm interviewing Mr. Joe Trainor of Kincora Senior Citizens Home, and formerly of Shamrock. The date is Thursday, May 20th, 1982. Mr. Trainor is 85 years old and has some valuable information on the people and activities in Kincora and area over the past century. He also has a complete family tree of the Trainors. Your first Irish ancestors come to PEI?
In the late 30s and early 40s. Mm-hmm. That's the way I answered.
What were their names?
John Trainor
Mm-hmm.
and Mary Duffy.
Okay.
My grandfather and grandmother.
And they were both born in Ireland?
They were both born in Ireland.
What year was John born in? John Trainor.
Oh, yes. 1830. And his wife was born in 1823.
Okay. What year were they married in?
In 1850.
In PEI? Or?
In Charlottetown.
Okay, yeah. And you don't know what ship they came over on, do you?
No, I can't tell the name of it right now.
What part of Ireland did they come from?
From County Monaghan.
A special town or?
I couldn't tell you the town.
Or church? Like the name of the community, the parish?
No.
No? Okay. And where did he first settle, or where did he first go?
They arrived in Bedeck,
Mm-hmm.
PEI.
And what did he do there?
He farmed.
Yeah.
Worked on a farm.
Mm-hmm. And then where did he settle after that?
In Shamrock.
Mm-hmm. What was his occupation?
Farmer.
Mm-hmm. And he died in 1905?
1905.
And she died in?
1909.
Okay. And they had 7 children?
7 children, yes.
What were their names?
Their names were Patrick, Mary, Annie, Elizabeth, John, James, and George.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you have a family tree already done up?
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell me some information about the house, the original house?
Yes, they built a small house, and it has been enlarged several times.
Mm-hmm. And what year was it built in?
What year did? Well, in the 1950s.
Okay, yeah. And what was their livelihood like? What their occupation?
They farmed.
What did they do in their spare time, like when they had spare time?
I guess the only spare time they had was when they were sleeping.
Oh.
They worked and worked hard. They cleared the land, stunted, and cleared it.
Well, it was all trees where it is.
Yes, I believe it was all under forest.
Well, is the same road, is that the same road that's there now?
Yes, there were no roads at that time.
Oh.
There were only paths.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And what transportation?
Well, they walked to Charlottetown.
It's a long way. Could you tell me some things about the community, like different organizations that were in the community, or?
Oh yes. From the county line westward, there was Irish settlement, and east of the county line, it was a Scotch settlement called Rose Valley, and the settlement on the Irish settlement was called Shamrock.
Well, it used to be called Thistle and Shamrock.
Thistle and Shamrock, yes. The Scotch, the emblem was thistle, and the emblem of Ireland was the shamrock.
Well, was there any bickering or anything between them?
No.
No?
They went to the same school and got along marvelously.
So you can trace your family right back to Ireland.
Trace it back to my grandfather.
Were there any famous people in your family, or people that you consider to be outstanding and religious, or?
In my family, yes. There are 5 religious in my family.
3 priests?
3 priests and then 2 sisters.
And then you had a big family too, don't you?
I had 12 children, 11 of them still living.
Well, they had big families then. Was it mostly just to farm, to keep work, or they helped around home, did they?
Oh yes, the children worked at home, certainly.
Is there any one grandfather whose tradition seems to be dominant? Your grandfather?
The tradition seems to be dominant. Oh yes, I'd say my grandfather.
Grandfather Trainor?
Grandfather Trainor, yeah. There has been a John in every generation. Yeah.
What? There seems to be a lot of Johns. Is that, especially with Irish?
Yes, I believe so.
Is that because religious, like?
It might be.
Okay. What stories have come down to you about your parents, or your grandparents, or any ancestors?
I can't recall any stories.
Okay. Are there certain things in your family history that you'd like to know more about, but no one will talk about?
Yes, I'd like to know more about my grandfather. He was the only one that I of that name that came from Ireland, or of his family that came from Ireland. I don't know whether he had any brothers or sisters ever came from Ireland.
Well, are you related to the Trainors who lived in Kelly's Cross, or?
No, we had no other relations on the island except the descendants of my grandfather.
Is there any notorious or infamous character in your family's past?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. How did your parents or grandparents come to meet?
I imagine they came on the same boat, and they settled in the same community.
What about your parents?
How they came to meet? Well, I guess in the ordinary way.
Well, were they
boy meets girl.
Well, were they right from the same area?
My father was from Shamrock, and my mother belonged to Middleton, only about 7 mile distance.
Oh, so they probably meet at
yes.
church, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any stories of lost love, jilted brides, unusual courtships, arranged marriages, elopements, runaway lovers, or such matters in your family?
Not that I know.
No? Not that you know of.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, can you tell me some information on the stores?
Yes. John P. Smith ran a store. Ezekiel Roberts ran a smaller store. And then Pat Morris ran the store that is there at the present time.
Fairweathers?
Fairweathers,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, Ezekiel's, is that Roberts' restaurant?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, it's not in the same place. They built a new, but Jim Callan ran a store for a short time.
Whereabouts?
Just on the other side of the railroad,
Oh.
on the right-hand side, right alongside the railroad. He had a store,
Oh.
and that building has been moved now. And that's about all the stores that I know of in Kincora.
What about the Moans brothers? Did they have a store up in the corner?
Oh yes, they sold some groceries at one time for a short time.
Yeah. Around what year?
It'll be around 1930. Yeah.
And did they have a blacksmith?
Yes, Pat Moan. There was a blacksmith there. The Moan's boy's father was a blacksmith. And there was two of his sons followed in that trade. Patrick was the blacksmith at Shamrock for a long time, and Michael was the blacksmith at Borden, Carleton.
Well, there's none of them around now.
No, they're all passed away, except one daughter, and she's living in Summerside now.
What about, was there any blacksmith shops in Kincora?
Yes, Johnny Mulligan ran a blacksmith shop in Kincora.
Whereabouts?
Just where Preston is living now.
Oh.
Only it was near the road, the blacksmith shop. And long, long ago, there was a man by the name of Phillips at a blacksmith shop right close to the railroad. And there was also Ambrose Munn also ran a manufacturing plant. He built threshers and blowers, drums and cleaners and blowers. He also built wagons. And then he also made caskets.
That's what I was
Yeah. And then his son Philip was an undertaker there for years. You remember that, do you?
Yeah. And that's where Philip lived. That's where his father lived before him.
No, his father lived now where Charlie Smith lives.
Oh. Where was the shop at?
His shop was right on this side of the railroad, on the right-hand side of the road.
Is it a coincidence, or is there a reason for the stores being right by the railroad, like there's shops like that?
Is there a reason? Well, I don't know exactly. They just happened to build them there, on either side of the railroad.
Oh, yeah. Well, was the railroad a big thing?
Oh, yes. There were passenger trains on the railroad. It was the only transportation at that time, was the railroad.
Well,
shipping potatoes and turnips.
Do you remember when, I don't know if you'd remember this, when the first potato came into Kincora, the white potato?
Yes, I remember that.
Oh.
It was about the year 1920. An M.J. McKeever started the potato business on a large scale.
Well,
He started to produce potatoes on a large scale.
Didn't Pat Morris get into?
Yeah, Pat Morris, later on Pat Morris grew large amounts of potatoes.
Well, you grew potatoes before that, though, didn't you?
Pat Morris? I don't think.
No, well,
Not
different
before.
kinds of potatoes?
Oh yeah, different kinds, yes.
Well, why was this potato why did people want to grow it in large scale?
Well, to make money, of course, or try to make money.
Oh.
There was a good demand for potatoes.
Could you tell me some things about the farming when you were growing up? Like what kind of machinery you used?
Yes, when I started to farm, it was all, you did all the work by horses.
Mm-hmm.
It was all horse labor. And it was a mixed farming. You grew grain, hay. Everyone had wheat. They grew some wheat. And of course they'd thrash it. Take the wheat to the mill, get their flour made, their bran, shorts.
So everything was used?
Everything was used, yeah.
So everybody, when it came harvest time, would all farmers help like each other, their neighbors, to make sure?
Most every farmer had a binder of his own and 3 horses to put in it, and he'd do his own cutting with a binder. And then the sheaves would be stooped up and left out to dry and harden, and then it would be hauled in and thrashed, and the grain stored in the barn.
When did the dairy industry start to become bigger in Kincora area?
Well, there was a cheese factory built first in Kincora, and everyone milked the cows and sent the whole milk to the factory, where it was manufactured into cheese.
Around what year was this?
Oh, that'd be, the factory would be built in the early 1900s.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a factory beside Roberts' restaurant?
Right, yeah, that's where it was built.
That was the same one?
Yeah, just on the east of the present restaurant.
When did it stop being used?
It stopped producing, well, they changed it then. They used to make cheese, but they changed it to a butter factory. And that'd be in the 1930s.
Well, why did it close?
The patrons, a lot of them stopped milking cows and went into the potato business. Yeah. And they done away with their herds of milk cows. So it didn't pay to operate the factory with a few patrons.
And then, well, did many people start shipping their milk to bigger?
Yeah, they started then shipping it to larger factories, especially to Propo, Wiltshire, and Somerset.
You were a school teacher.
I taught for a short time. I had a license to teach school. I went to 1 year to Prince of Wales College, it was called at that time, and I got a certificate, second class certificate. And I taught in St. Teresa's.
That's near Morel.
That's, yeah, it's up east.
Oh, yeah. Was that the only?
I taught only for about 9 months.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, were teachers scarce then?
Yes, it appears so. I was away at the time, working away, and I came home at Christmas, and there was a neighbour asked me if I'd consider taking you to school, and I said I wouldn't mind it. So I got to school and taught for about, I finished out that year, that'd be 1919, and I started 1918, and I also started the year 1990, but my two brothers died and I came home and stayed with my father and mother.
Well, where did you get your early education?
In Shamrock School.
Was it the same school?
That's the only school I attended to. It is now a chapel.
It was the same school?
Yeah, it's the same school, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who were some of the teachers there that you can remember?
First teacher I went to was Henry Moan.
Mm-hmm.
And I also went to Patricia Hughes. And William Callahan. And Ethel Duffy.
Yeah, I believe I know her.
Yeah. And Katie Hughes.
Oh.
So that was those were my teachers.
So when did you go, was it to grade 10 or 11 then, or?
Grade 8 was
Grade 8.
I said,
Oh.
and you tried entrance from grade 8.
Mm-hmm.
When you passed entrance, you were qualified to enter Prince of Wales College.
And you went there for a year?
I went there for one term, yes. Yeah.
What were the teachers like then? Were they pretty strict or?
Oh no,
No?
they were very, very nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was no problems with discipline?
No problems with the discipline, no. Absolutely no problems. Oh, it was an odd fellow got a licking.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, when would your school year start and finish? Or?
Just about the same as now, although we had 3 weeks vacation in October, in Potato Day,
Oh,
the time of potato,
Oh,
potato harvesting.
mm-hmm.
And we, of course, had the summer vacation was cut by 3 weeks, and then we had a break, 3 weeks in potato harvesting time.
Well, was there a school in Kincora at the time?
Yes, there was a 2-room school in Kincora at that time.
Where was it located at?
Just west of the church.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And was it run by the nuns?
No, not at the beginning.
Oh.
Not at the beginning.
Can you tell me anything about what went on? I think it was in the year 1930. Was it a meeting of all the people across the island in Kincora? And would you remember any of this? And the women cooked a bunch of food and brought it, and the men worked and cleaned up a barn, or?
No, I don't remember anything about that. No.
I'm not sure if the Eucharistic.
Oh yes, Eucharistic Congress.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah. That was a religious affair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where was that?
That was held right on the where the parking lot is now held.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
About.
yeah.
Well, why was it held in Kincora?
Well, it had been held in different parishes, but it came the turn of Kincora Parish to hold it.
And who would be in charge of it?
The pastor.
Who was the priest? Who were the...
At that time it was Father John J.J. McDonald.
So that What did the parish take in? What areas? Kincor.
It took in Shamrock, Maple Plains, College Land. It took in all the area west of the county line.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All the residents that were on the west side of the county line road. And it went down, took in Middleton, Newton, Maple Plains, and yeah, I said Middleton.
Yeah. Well,
And part of Bedeck.
part of it,
Yeah.
And so the parish is just about the same. Yeah?
It's just boundaries are just about the same.
When you were growing up, were the houses the same?
No, there were
In
many
Shamrock?
more. There were many more houses.
Were there?
Yes.
Can you explain to me why there's some houses on that road in Shamrock who have a metal ceiling? Why is that? Was it just...
Well, it was the style at the time. It was the style of putting on. They call them steel ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, what year? Was it...
Oh, that'd be in the 1920s.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, was it a person around here who did it?
Oh yes, there were local carpenters.
Local carpenters knew how to do
Yeah.
it? It looks like artwork, the way that they make it come together.
Oh yes, well it wasn't narrow strips, you know, and they just laid in strips. Something like the plywood now, or in strips like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that a lot of the houses have a lookout window.
Yes.
Was that Irish? Was that?
No, the idea of a lookout window was for light.
Oh.
Yes. There would be an upstairs. There would be a room, and it'd be on the second floor, and there was no windows except the lookout windows in the attic,
Oh.
second floor.
What about the bay windows?
Yes. Well, that was just a style.
It was just.
They didn't prove satisfactory. Recently, they have been all taken off.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them. I don't know. Probably you.
We still have ours.
You still have yours, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.